Caught wife trying to cheat with my friend from her iWatch. Last night, after 7 years of marriage, my wife decided to have a relaxing evening. She settled into the den to watch her favorite shows, while I alternated between watching the Spurs game and taking care of some small tasks I had planned. As the night wore on, she cracked open a bottle of wine, then another. By midnight, when I checked on her, she was passed out on the couch. As I bent down to pick her up, her smartwatch buzzed, displaying a message that caught my eye. It read something like, "Haha, I can't do that. My husband would knock 7 shades of crap out of me." Ploh. My curiosity got the better of me, so I tapped on the notification. It revealed a conversation between my wife and a guy I've known for years, not a close friend, but someone I've played soccer with and hung out with since our teenage years. We used to call him Jacket Holder because he was always the one holding the jackets while the rest of us got into scraps. As I scrolled through their messages, still attached to her wrist, I realized he had initiated the conversation. Unless, of course, she had deleted something. The exchange was full of flirty banter, nothing that could be definitively called cheating. But then I reached the messages from last night, where, in her drunken state, she openly begged him for sex. I couldn't believe my eyes. She was saying things like how she'd always wanted him, how no one would ever find out, and the worst part, how she was great at keeping secrets. I couldn't find any other incriminating messages on her watch, and I didn't know her phone passcode. So I put her to bed and just sat in the kitchen, stunned, until I eventually fell asleep. This morning, when I went to get into my work van, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Instead, I grabbed a half-empty bottle of vodka, topped it off with Coke, and went for a walk along the disused railway line near our house. I'm sitting under a bridge now, fuming. You could probably see the steam coming out of my ears from a mile away. So what do? I can't even look at her after reading that filth. It felt like a dagger through my heart. Every bit of love I had for her evaporated the moment I read those messages. Honestly, I want to ghost her, just disappear, and never speak to her again. The whole "I'm great at keeping secrets" thing really got to me. Who even is this person? It's like I've been living with a stranger. I don't know how deep down this rabbit hole I want to go, but I'm done. I've never felt so betrayed and disgusted in my life. I've invested so much in her, not just as a partner, but as a person. I thought we were good people, that our personalities reflected that. Now, realizing she's a backstabbing snake, I feel like a snake myself. It's like discovering that someone you admired, someone whose advice and life lessons you took to heart, turned out to be a creep. It shatters your perception of yourself and who you are. I'm lucky that our house belongs to my parents, who moved to a retirement village 6 years ago. When they pass, it will be bequeathed to me, so my soon-to-be ex won't get her hands on it in the divorce. But what do I do now? I'm seriously considering just not saying a word and throwing her out. As I walked here, I even thought about getting my locksmith friend to quietly change the locks today. I could make up some excuse about the doors being broken. She wouldn't care as long as I was handling it. Then, once the locks are changed, I could lock her out. Sounds childish, right? But honestly, I'm at a loss. I'm staring at this bottle, and it feels like my life is unraveling at the seams. As for that so-called friend, there's no doubt he was up to something. I wouldn't have known any of this if I hadn't caught that message. I'll be seeing him very soon, and trust me, he won't be holding any jackets this time. TLDR. Caught my wife trying to cheat on me with someone I considered a friend, thanks to her smartwatch. After calming down at a friend's house, I threw the vodka away. My wife has been texting me, asking where I am because my work van is still in the driveway. I told her there was a problem with the engine, so I got a lift to work. I'm planning to confront her tonight. Wednesday, October 28th. Thank you to everyone who reached out after my first post. It was really appreciated. Yesterday, after writing that post and being in a complete mess, 2 dog walkers approached me. They were clearly concerned, so I told them everything. They listened, and one of them said, "Son, the worst thing you can do right now is drink. It'll cause carnage." I have to thank her because I was on the highway to hell at that point. I threw the vodka away, got in touch with a friend who said I could come over to calm down. We live in a small town, so I walked to his place and tried to collect myself. Throughout the morning, my wife kept texting and calling, wondering where I was and what was going on, especially since my van was still at home. I lied and said there was an engine problem, which she seemed to buy. When my friend got home from work around 5 o'clock, I told him everything and asked for his opinion. I also told him not to mention anything about jacket holder because I didn't want it getting back to my wife just yet. He advised me to keep a low profile, gather more evidence, and speak to a lawyer, which I did today. He drove me home around 6, and I was exhausted, emotionally and physically drained from the day. As soon as I walked in, my wife was on me with a barrage of questions. I could see something was up. She'd noticed I left my flask and lunch bag in the van, so she knew something wasn't right. I was too tired to keep up the act, so I told her the truth. I told her I saw the messages on her watch, that she was a disgusting cheat, and that I wanted nothing more to do with her. Her confident demeanor crumbled in an instant. She started sobbing, but I just walked away and went upstairs to take a shower. When I got out, she was sitting on the stairs, still crying, and the excuses started pouring out. She was drunk, vulnerable. It was a mistake. She never meant it. He messaged her first. It was like she had a script. The only thing she didn't do was try to blame me, probably because she knew I would have thrown her out immediately if she had. I told her I wanted a divorce and that she needed to move to the spare room. I've been ignoring her since, just shaking my head when she starts talking nonsense. I don't want to hear it. She slept in the spare room last night, and I haven't spoken to her at all today. Part of me hopes she'll be gone when I get home, but I doubt I'm that lucky. I told my parents what happened, and my mother was adamant I shouldn't throw her out on the street. My mother and wife have always been close, and she thinks we should sort it out like adults, especially since my wife didn't actually go through with anything. But I can't bear to look at her, let alone live with her. I managed to get an appointment with a divorce lawyer for next week to discuss my options. Until then, I'm just going to keep ignoring her. I doubt she'll admit to anything else, and I'll probably never know if she was just talking shit or if she really intended to cheat. Sorry for the delay in the update. I'd just finished work, so it's back to the funhouse for me. Monday, November 16th. It's been 20 days since I found out my wife was trying to cheat on me, and things have only gotten worse. I gave her a month to move out, but it's clear she has no intention of leaving, especially after getting in my mother's ear. She's been sleeping in the spare room, and the atmosphere in the house is unbearable. The living room is a no-man's land, and we both spend most of our time in our respective rooms. I've been working late intentionally to avoid her. After reading about the 180 strategy, I started being civil but cold toward her. It's helped as I was beginning to feel like the villain for ignoring her completely. The only time I broke the 180 was when I found her crying on the bathroom floor. I helped her up and gave her a hug, but it was more out of habit than any real affection. She's been saying she'll do anything to save our marriage, but when I mentioned a lie detector test, she was all for it, until she started looking up how inaccurate they are. Her backpedaling was almost comical. It doesn't matter anyway. I don't love her anymore. She's just trash that needs to be taken out before it stinks up the place. As for Jacket Holder, he's been ostracized from our friend group since I exposed him. He blocked my number, and I hope it was because his phone was blown up by angry texts. I don't care, honestly. He can live his miserable little life, and I'll live mine. My wife's family, including her sisters, have been in contact with me, pleading her case, but I've cut off communication with them. This is between her and me, and I won't be swayed by their opinions. She hasn't spoken to them in over a week, but she's still calling my mother daily, which is driving me insane. My mother's starting to come around to my side, but I think she still hopes we'll reconcile. I've met with a divorce lawyer and have been advised to hold off on filing until I have a solid plan in place, which includes finances, living arrangements, and a timeline for when she needs to be out. I'm following that advice, but it's difficult when I'm so desperate to be free of her. The lawyer also said that given we've been married for 7 years, I might have to pay her alimony, which feels like a slap in the face. I'm hoping we can settle this amicably, but I doubt she'll go quietly. I'm hanging on by a thread, counting the days until I can officially cut ties with her. If she's not gone by the end of the month, I'll be filing for divorce regardless of my lawyer's advice. I need her out of my life. The thought of another year of this hell is too much to bear. Monday, November 23rd. It's been almost a month since my world fell apart, and I'm barely holding on. Every day feels like a battle to keep myself together. I never thought I'd be in this position, waiting for someone I used to love to leave my life forever. The woman I once trusted with my heart has become a stranger, someone I can't even look at without feeling a surge of anger and betrayal. The tension in the house is suffocating. We avoid each other as much as possible, but there are moments when our paths cross, and the air gets so thick with unspoken words that it's hard to breathe. She still tries to talk to me, to apologize, to plead her case, but I can't hear her without remembering those disgusting messages. I can't get past the idea that she was willing to betray me so easily, so callously. Last night, she asked if we could talk, and for the first time in weeks, I agreed. I think she could see that I'm done, that I've checked out, but she still clings to this hope that she can fix things. She cried again, saying she was sorry, that she was lost and didn't know what she was doing, that she regrets everything. She begged me to give her another chance, to go to therapy, to work on our marriage, but all I could think about was how little her words mean now. They're just empty, like everything else between us. I told her, as calmly as I could, that it's over, that there's no going back from this. She broke down completely, and it took everything in me not to yell, not to scream at her for what she's done. I didn't want to be cruel, but I was honest. I told her that I don't love her anymore, that I can't see her as the person I married, that every time I look at her, I'm reminded of her betrayal. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to say, but it was the truth. She needed to hear it, and I needed to say it. She didn't argue after that. She just cried until there were no more tears, and I left her there, sitting on the edge of the bed that we once shared, feeling nothing but a hollow emptiness where my love for her used to be. Wednesday, December 2nd. She's still here. I don't know why I expected anything different, but it's wearing me down. I wake up every morning hoping she'll be gone, that I'll find the spare room empty and a note saying she's left. But every day, she's still here, clinging to the last remnants of what we used to have. My lawyer has been pushing me to finalize the paperwork, to take the next steps toward the divorce. But every time I think about it, I feel this overwhelming sense of dread. I know it's what I need to do, but actually doing it feels like closing the door on a part of my life that I thought would last forever. It's like mourning the death of something that was once beautiful, but is now rotten to the core. I've been talking to my parents more often, and my mother has finally started to see things from my perspective. She's always been one to try to keep the peace, but even she can't ignore the reality of what's happened. My father, on the other hand, has been quietly supportive. He's not one for many words, but I can see in his eyes that he's hurting for me, that he understands how much this has broken me. I wish I could say that I'm moving forward, that I'm healing, but the truth is, I'm just surviving. The days blur together, and I find myself going through the motions, trying to stay afloat in the mess that my life has become. I'm angry, yes, but more than that, I'm tired. I'm exhausted from the constant weight of this betrayal, from the never-ending cycle of thinking about what she did and what could have been. Friday, December 11th. Today, I took a step that I'd been dreading. I filed for divorce. It should feel like a victory, like the first step toward reclaiming my life. But all I feel is numb. My lawyer assured me that this is the right thing to do, that it's the only way to start moving on, but it doesn't make it any easier. It's official now. Our marriage is over, and there's no turning back. When I got home, I told her what I'd done. She just stared at me, the color draining from her face, like she couldn't believe it was really happening. For a moment, I thought she might start begging again, but she didn't. Instead, she just nodded, whispered something about understanding, and walked away. I watched her go, feeling nothing but a cold, empty relief. It's over, I thought. It's finally over. But is it? Because even now, with the papers filed and the process set in motion, I can't shake this feeling of loss. I've lost not just a wife, but the future I thought we'd have together. I've lost the person I thought she was, and in the process, I've lost a part of myself. It's like there's this huge, gaping hole in my life, and I don't know how to fill it. I'm trying to focus on what comes next, on rebuilding, but it's hard. Everything feels uncertain, and I don't know who I am without her, without us. I know I'll get through this. I have to. But right now, it feels like I'm walking through a fog, unsure of where I'm going, or if I'll ever find my way out. Monday, December 21st. She's leaving tomorrow. She finally agreed to move out, to stay with a friend until she can find a place of her own. The relief I thought I'd feel isn't there. Instead, I'm left with this aching emptiness, a sadness that I didn't expect. I should be happy, right? This is what I wanted. But as I watched her pack her things today, I couldn't help but feel like I'm losing something precious, even though I know it's long gone. We didn't talk much as she packed, just exchanged a few words about logistics and what she'd take with her. I stayed out of the way, not wanting to make it harder than it already is. I know this is for the best, but it doesn't make it any less painful. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I'm hoping that once she's gone, I can start to heal. It's going to take time, I know that, but I have to believe that there's something better waiting for me on the other side of this. Right now, though, it's hard to see past the hurt, past the wreckage of what we had. I keep telling myself that I'll be okay, that I'll find my way through this. But for tonight, I'm allowing myself to grieve. I'm letting myself feel the weight of everything I'd lost. And maybe, just maybe, tomorrow will bring the first glimmer of light in this darkness.